Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin has just put in its first weekly death cross of all time. Let's talk about it. Now, normally when we're talking about golden crosses and death crosses for Bitcoin, we're looking at the 50-day moving average and we're looking at the 200-day moving average. These have crossed multiple times, yielding many golden crosses and many death crosses, but for the first time, we're seeing a weekly cross of the 50-week moving average and the 200-week moving average. The 50-week coming beneath the 200 in the past 24 hours, indicative that we've obviously got that new weekly death cross. If we zoom out on the weekly chart, I'll show you a couple of examples of how this is played out on the daily, but you can see for the weekly, the 50-week and the 200-week, these two moving averages have never ever crossed. And as we talked about in our video yesterday, huge week for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a very important decision to make. With this weekly death cross coming into fruition, and with Bitcoin sitting at this huge trend line, it is very important this week how Bitcoin responds to this 21,500 line. I'm going to obviously make a few more TA videos throughout the rest of the week. But just to reiterate the main point that we said in our last video, huge week for Bitcoin. This 21,500 line is super important. If you're bullish, you obviously want to see a bounce from 21,500, and if you're bearish, you know, of course, flipping beneath this 21,500 line is definitely going to be a sign that we should be moving back down to lower levels. So, like I said, let's move on from this chart. There's not too much else to say from this. I do think retail is going to start panicking a little bit. I think smart money are going to start taking advantage of the panic that will soon come into the market. But with this weekly death cross, let's see how this plays out. Now, if we come over to the daily time frame, like I mentioned, 50-day moving average, 200-day moving average, these have crossed many times. So, for example, over here, if we look at what happened in April 2019, you can see the 50-day moving average, which is this orange line here, crossed above the 200-day moving average, which is this blue line here. So as this is a orange golden line, this is called a golden cross, and this is typically, or at least the markets assume that this is a bullish event. And with a death cross, you see that same moving average, you see that 50-day moving average cross beneath the 200-day moving average. But as I've said on the channel many times before, this indicator is very 50-50. A lot of the time it works out, some other times it is a lagging indicator. So let's go back to basically the start of when these two moving averages started to come into fruition. So you can see since 2010, you had your 200-day moving average load in, and you know, we never had a golden cross, but the 50-day was above the 200, so we were going up and up and up and up and up. And what you can see over here is we had our first daily death cross. And with this daily death cross, you can basically see on the week of the death cross, we pumped into the death cross. And then as the death cross happened, we absolutely started melting back down to lower levels. You can then see over here, we had a golden cross and we pumped into the golden cross, which is a typically bullish event for the markets. We broke back down and it took a while. We created some rounding bottom, but then we continued to move up to the upside. So far, you know, you've got a bearish or you've got a death cross, which played out, and you've got a golden cross which took its time but did play out for the markets. Over here you can see another example of a death cross in 2014. We had that weekly death cross. It looked like, yeah, we kind of wicked up to this death cross, and then we broke back down into new lows. But this is why I kind of say that, you know, death crosses and golden crosses, most of the time they are lagging indicators. You know, 95% of the bear market was done at this moment in time. And yes, you know, once we did have this death cross, you can see that Bitcoin actually broke down about another 26% or so. But, you know, the death cross was saying, hey, we're very close to the bottom at this moment in time. Now, over here you can see a golden cross, and this actually turned out to be a fake out. So once again, like I said, often these are lagging indicators, and sometimes, you know, the markets think every golden cross and every death cross has to mean bullish or bearish. It's not always this way. You can see right here, if I mark the exact cross with golden over here, so you can see this is a golden cross. Markets thought this was going to be bullish, and you know, we basically broke down and started nuking to the downside as soon as this golden cross happened. And then obviously after the golden cross, we started moving down a little bit. So this data point came in, we had another death cross, and the death cross basically started melting us through the floorboard. So, you know, so far every data point we've looked at for the death crosses, which is the main focus of the video, because of course we're having a weekly death cross right now, you can see, you know, death cross broke down lower. You can see death cross broke down about 26% lower, still breaking down lower. Over here you can see another death cross, we continued to break back down lower. Over here you can see, you know, this data point is a little bit arguable. Although maybe not so arguable at this moment in time, because you can actually see, you did have a golden cross, which is, once again, markets were thinking this is the start of a new bull run. We're just going to go up and up and up and up. We pumped into the golden cross and then immediately started nuking down, and we broke down into new lows. After then, we did have a successful golden cross, and with this golden cross, this marked the start of the 2015, 2016, all the way up to the 2017 top for the bull run. You can see this golden cross, we basically crossed and immediately just started melting to the upside, melting faces until we had the 50-day moving average once again cross beneath the 200. We had another def cross over here. We pumped into the def cross, broke back down lower, pumped back up, made a macro lower high, and then started continuing breaking back down to the downside. So, this def cross wasn't so much of a lagging indicator. We obviously started the bear market, but we had a long way down to go after we had this def cross. So pretty much every single def cross we've looked at so far on the daily time frame has successfully played out. Some of the golden crosses are a little bit 50-50 at this moment in time. Over here, you can see obviously not the exact bear market low, but more or less the bear market lows were marked, or should I say, the new bull run was marked by this cross, by this golden cross that happened in April 2019. You had a golden cross, and you pumped back up until, market started coming back down. You had a def cross, we pumped into the def cross, and we broke back down lower. We then had a golden cross right here. This is another example of a golden cross which didn't work out too well. Do bear in mind, when you are looking at these two data points, I'll mark these as a different color. I'll mark these two here as white. And the reason why I'm marking these as white is because we had a black swan we had a black swan event over here. So we had a golden cross that was unsuccessful, and we had a def cross here that was unsuccessful, because the def cross here basically marked the exact bottom, and the golden cross here basically marked the exact top. But once again, do bear in mind, this was the can't say what the name of this is over on YouTube, but you all know what happened in March of 2020. This was a black swan event. So, to be honest, I'm not going to be taking these two data points into consideration. Bear in mind, golden cross here didn't work out, def cross here didn't work out, but this whole event was a black swan event, so I don't want to take this one into consideration. However, you can see that we did follow up this black swan event in May of 2020 with another golden cross, and with this golden cross, we broke down into the golden cross, and then we started melting faces to the upside. So this was a golden cross which did work out. Over here, you can see a def cross, and once again, while we did break a little bit lower on this def cross was a tiny bit unsuccessful. You can see, to be honest, another example of a def cross which did kind of play out, because we did break down at least another 26%, almost 27% before breaking up higher. Once again, this is why I say a lot of the time def crosses and golden crosses are lagging indicators. They more or less tell you what you already know, but so far with all of the data points that we've looked at, all of the def crosses have played out. With this golden cross, once again, this golden cross here is a little bit arguable to whether you can say that this worked out or it didn't work out. You can make the argument for both cases. For example, if you want to say this golden cross worked out, that's understandable, because you can see we had a golden cross, broke down a little bit lower, and then we pushed up into a higher high. And then on the other side, you can say this golden cross didn't work out, because you would have expected this to be, the start of a new huge run to the upside. And what we did is we more or less came up to the previous all-time high, double topped, and broke down to the downside. So with this one, I'll let you decide this data point for yourself. For me personally, I'm leaning more towards the sign that this was a failed golden cross. But once again, it's very arguable, and it's kind of ambiguous as to whether this was successful or not. We did push up to the upside. We did have a successful run up, quite a big successful run up, to be honest. But once again, we pushed up and double topped and broke back down. So this was more like a huge failed move equals a fast move in the opposite direction. So I'll leave this data point up for you to decide, but then you can see we followed this up with another def cross. We pumped into the def cross, broke back down lower, started retesting these two moving averages before melting back down to the downside. So another example of a death cross, which has beautifully been playing out. Since the 10th of January 2022, the price was at 43,000, and obviously now, even though we've pumped up a little bit, we're at 21,500. So, more or less, we're looking at all of these death crosses, and pretty much every single death cross has beautifully played out, apart from the ones that are associated with this Black Swan event over here. And with some of the golden crosses, some of them seem like lagging indicators, some of them do mark the start of new bull market. So I did want to also point out, in the past 3 weeks, we have had another golden cross for Bitcoin, depending on what chart you're looking at. For example, if you're looking at the BLX, Brave New Liquid Index for Bitcoin, we actually haven't had the golden cross yet, but if you're going through most exchanges, we have had this golden cross play out for the past few weeks already. So, once again, just highlighting this, at this moment in time, we're having a daily golden cross, which has been playing out for the past 3 weeks, and we're also having Bitcoin's first weekly death cross, an event which we have not seen ever before. And if we're looking at previous death crosses on the daily time frame, once again, coming back to the start over here, you can see a death cross, massive meltdown, death cross, meltdown, pump, followed up by another death cross at basically the same level, followed by another breakdown. Over here you can see a death cross. This basically was, pretty much at the start of the bear market. It started to melt down from there. Here you can see a death cross. We started to melt down from there. Here we saw a death cross. We broke down about 26%. Here we saw a death cross. This was the start of the bear market pretty much, and we started to melt back down to the downside. So, and with the golden crosses, I think these are a little bit more 50-50. So once again, coming back to the start, there was no golden cross over here because the 200 spawned in beneath the 50. But you can see a golden cross here. This was, we broke down, but this was a successful marking of the new bull market. Here we saw a golden cross. This was a failed data point. It basically marked the top and we started breaking down. Here you can see a golden cross. This was, once again, a failed golden cross because we broke down into new lows. Here you can see a golden cross which was successful. It marked the start of the 2015 bull run. Here you can see another successful golden cross which marked the start of the 2019 bull run. And then, once again, after we had this Black Swan event, you did see another successful golden cross which did mark the new bull run. And once again, we are seeing another golden cross right now. So, looking at all of these data points, considering we've never had a weekly death cross, and seeming as how, unless you're taking this Black Swan event into consideration, all of these death crosses have basically marked for a lower move to the downside for Bitcoin, and a lot of the time the golden crosses can be lagging indicators for the market. So I'll let you take away this as what you will. I'm just sharing the data points with you personally. I lean more bearish at this moment in time, and seeing, once again, whether you're bullish or bearish, the facts are the facts. If we're looking at this trend line, how Bitcoin responds to 21,500 this week is extremely important. So, like I said in the previous video, this is an absolutely huge week for Bitcoin. We have never seen a death cross of this scale before. And once again, 21,500 doesn't have to happen this week, doesn't have to happen next week, but how we respond to this level. If we start breaking beneath 21,500 in the next week, if we start breaking down in the next day, in the next month, it is not going to be a good sign. And if we do start bouncing heavily from 21,500, it is looking like obviously we could get a little bit more bullish continuation. So that's all I've got for you for this video, my friends. As always, if you enjoy the content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. And if you do want more of my posts, charts, memes, economic data, all of that good stuff, be sure to follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. Come and join the Discord community as well. If you head over to my channel and click on the About section, you can see all my official links for Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and the merch store are down below. But for today, that's all I've got for you. See you in the next update. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.